Good evening and welcome to Left, Right and Centre. These images now coming in of the first image of the second Pakistani terrorist caught alive in Jammu and Kashmir today, less than a month after Mohammad Naveed was captured. That face on your screen of Javed. Now, Javed was captured by security forces in the Baramullah area of Jammu and Kashmir, the second terrorist to be captured alive. Now, Naveed, as we remember, had given Indian terror investigators vital information. And this latest arrest, now less than a week since critical NSA-level talks that were meant to address terror were called off by India and Pakistan. Javed is meant to be 22 years old. He's been identified as Sajjad Ahmad from Muzaffarnagar in Pakistan and was captured during an encounter, as we said, in Baramullah. Infiltration and border violations on the rise in Jammu and Kashmir. The cancellation of talks now, of course, beg the question, how serious is Islamabad about forging a lasting peace with Delhi? Also on the show tonight, now salacious details and voyeuristic curiosity have brought to the headlines the sordid saga that's emerging in the Sheena Bora murder case. The police questioned Rahul Mukherjee, Sheena's boyfriend at the time of her disappearance, who was believed to have told the police that Sheena couldn't have travelled abroad because her passport was in his custody. Sheena's mother, Indrani Mukherjee, a media executive, her previous husband Sanjeev Khanna and her driver have been arrested in connection with the murder 3 years ago. Right, first let's go across to that news coming in from Jammu and Kashmir. Another Pakistani terrorist captured alive after an encounter in North Kashmir. As we said, the 22-year-old terrorist has the name Javed Ahmad, also known as Sajjad. He's now been brought to Srinagar for interrogation. My colleague Nazir Masoodi joins us from there for the latest. Nazir, the second such arrest in a month in Jammu and Kashmir. What are you hearing from security forces?
Well, this militant doesn't seem to be part of any Fidaiin group, but nevertheless, it is a huge catch for the security agencies to know much more about the Pakistani designs, their launching pads, how many militants more are waiting to infiltrate, training camps and all those things, because it was a very fresh infiltration group which has crossed just few days back. This group of 5 militants was intercepted in Uri sector yesterday in Bijhama area by the army yesterday morning, but they managed to escape from there and shifted their base to another area in Rafiabad in North Kashmir. But there a joint operation was launched by the Jammu and Kashmir police and the army, and over the 20-hour long gun battle, these militants, 4 militants were killed, and this militant was captured alive. Our sources tell us even the police used one of these tear gas shells in the cave where this militant was hiding. While there are reports also he has surrendered, but some say yes, he was captured, but he didn't offer much resistance when he was captured by the security forces. Clearly, it also indicates the larger designs from across the border, despite the fact that talks were held on between two NSAs were to be held on a terror that had to be called up, and despite India making it a huge issue, they are trying to sending more militants to keep the pot boiling. Here in Kashmir, militancy is used to internationalize Kashmir issue, Kashmir dispute, and we are seeing resurgence of the indigenous militancy, and they are sending more militants from across to keep the pot boiling. So this militant has been now brought from to Srinagar from North Kashmir's Baramullah district. He is right now being interrogated some undisclosed security installation somewhere in Srinagar, and security agencies are hoping to get many more revelations from him, like they got from the Naveed after he was arrested and questioned. He gave lots of information about the overground network of Lashkar-e-Taiba and their network across the valley.
Right, Nazir Masoodi, thanks very much for joining us with all those details. Well, we are asking the question, of course, on whether Pakistan is really serious and committed as far as talks are concerned. Remember, there's another round of dialogue expected, in the coming days, in the coming weeks. Sartaj Aziz has said that the military-level talks for September 6th so far are still on. He told NDTV Pakistan wants to come. But any indication like this seems to point to questions about Pakistan's intent right now. At least that's the question we're asking tonight on the Left, Right and Centre. Joining us in the studio, Sambit Patra of the BJP, Praveen Swami, the Strategic Affairs Editor for the Indian Express. Also, Defence Analyst Lieutenant General Shankar Prasad joining us. We're hoping to be joined by Ajay Kumar of the Congress Party, as well as Colonel Shafqat Saeed from Islamabad in just a couple of minutes. Well, Colonel Saeed is with us. Colonel Saeed, if I can actually start by asking you, this arrest of this boy Javed Ahmad, also known as Sajjad, he's also spoken and said that he, he does come from across the border. The question really that's being asked over here, on the one hand, Pakistan is saying they're committed to fighting terrorism, talking about terrorism with India and tackling it. On the other hand, this is the second such arrest in the last month.
I would say that I don't know where from these people keep crossing the border, because there are two things which convince me that no terrorist can cross border into Indian side of the LOC. Reason that Pakistan is so committed with its own problem of terrorism that it cannot afford escalation with India. And secondly, the Indian side of the LOC is so thickly and properly held, and it is so convincingly arranged in terms of obstacle that it is not possible that somebody can cross. I would say that this is false flag operation to implicate Pakistan into embarrassment, which is very unfortunate,
right.
And this is a very long line that India is towing at this moment.
Okay. All right, Colonel Saeed, before I bring in our political guest, I want to actually also ask Lieutenant General Shankar Prasad your views on this arrest today. He's been caught and taken for interrogation to Srinagar. But this is, while this might be the second such detention in the last month, there have been instances in the past where security forces have caught people, have taken them into custody to actually glean more information, and yet we see this pattern just repeating itself again and again.
Well, this business of infiltration has been going on for a long time. First of all, before I go ahead on that, let me thank Mr. Colonel Shaukat Aziz for accepting that the Pakistan Army and the Indian Army are well deployed there. But he forgets that there are still ways and means people can find to infiltrate, and in particular, if there is an assistance provided by the Pakistan frontier forces, by the Pakistan forces deployed on the line of control. Our stand has been that this infiltration has been going on for a long time, and we have been capturing people dead and alive. Just the other day on this particular channel, we had a former corps commander say that over 100 Pakistani trained militants who crossed across from the line of control over the past few years are in jails today, and we have been able to get enough information from them. The other day, of course, this boy was caught in Udhampur, and today this gentleman has been caught after a firefight, a couple of days, heavily armed, 4 or 5 people, 4 believed to be killed, 1 captured alive. The point is very simple, that it is impossible to make any Pakistani interlocutor or any of these people who come in the panel to accept that Pakistan is perpetrating terrorism in India as a state policy, and it's been going on for the last so many years. We have ample evidence provided time and time again, which all the time Pakistan denies, and we have been providing this information as well to the world community, which is very much alive to it.
Okay, General Shankar Prasad, the state policy, the Pakistanis of course say that they are trying to tackle terror from their own borders. We heard Colonel Shafqat Saeed also talk about how Pakistan is committed, therefore this kind of infiltration cannot take place. Yet, Colonel Saeed, we are seeing repeated examples of violations and infiltration. Sambit Patra, Sajjad Aziz told NDTV yesterday that military level talks set for the 6th of September are still on schedule. There's been no talk of cancelling that round. What in your assessment is going to happen come September 5th? Are we going to see a repeat of what we saw this past weekend?
No, hopefully we do not see a repeat of what we saw in the past, but because what we saw in the past was absolutely unfortunate. We were scheduled to talk on terrorism, and the irony is Pakistan, who Mr. Shaukat Aziz points, is committed to fighting terrorism. I don't understand, if Pakistan is committed to fighting terrorism, why did they not come and have a talk here? That's what we were demanding, come and have a talk on terrorism. But you wanted to have everything else on the platter and not terrorism. That's the reason as to why I say what Mr. Shaukat Aziz is presenting to the world for consumption, that their commitment is quite firm, is absolutely bunkum. If they had the commitment, then they would have come over here, taken the draws here, the evidences would have been given, we would have presented Naveed to them, and then they would have given the answers. They would have denied or they would have stood by it, whatever it is. But they ran away only points to the fact that these terrorists belong to Pakistan. Let me remind you, the Pakistani media is also showing their whereabouts, that he belongs to Pakistan, this is the home. The father has been interviewed, the father of the previous terrorist who was caught, Naveed, his father has been interviewed in the Pakistani media.
Okay, but you know, the point is what we heard from the Pakistani side, and Praveen, you can maybe expand on this. Two things. One, of course, that they say, well, we want to talk about terror as well, and we can't separate terror from talking about Kashmir. That's the Pakistani position. But having said that, just a couple of days ago, you had written a story on the number of Pakistani nationals who've been repatriated because they've not been able to actually find enough to hold them back. Are we going to see a repeat?
So just at the beginning of this month, we actually repatriated 8 Pakistani terrorists back at the end of their prison sentences, who mysteriously appeared despite what Shafkat Saad said. Their government accepted them back, acknowledging that they were Pakistani nationals. Sadly, this has been going on for years. So we've arrested over 150 Pakistani nationals, held them on terrorism charges in just the last 10 years. But our criminal justice system is so awful, we haven't got convictions. So people are picked up, they serve 3, 4, 5 years on relatively minor charges, though they've come here with the express intention of killing soldiers and civilians.
Right.
And at the end of that 4 or 5 years, they're sent back to Pakistan. And the Indian Express story, we actually had evidence that several of them have now rejoined their groups.
Okay. All right. Ajay Kumar, I want you to come in on this as well, because what Praveen is talking about is not something that's happened only in the last 1.5 years of the NDA government, but it goes back many years, these Pakistani nationals who've been captured. So why hasn't there been enough diligence done by intelligence agencies, even in the previous government? Why have we reached a situation where not only is infiltration continuing right now across the border, but also as we're talking about people who have been detained, who have been arrested, have been sent back?
You know, Nidhi, one of the things is that you need to understand that, like General would definitely agree with me, that the borders are, you know, it is well protected, but if you want 100% infiltration border between India and Pakistan, and especially with the Pakistani paramilitary forces giving them support, air cover, I mean, you know, firepower cover to get it infiltrate, is going to be difficult. So despite the best efforts of the security forces, on a long border, these kind of issues, especially on the Jammu Kashmir side and towards even towards the Punjab side, it is a heroic effort. So the intelligence agencies continue to give evidences to Pakistan. The question again is, like Colonel Aziz on this channel, you know, the denial of Pakistan to say that there are people from Pakistan infiltrating, there are people who are arrested, and like Praveen correctly said, we handed over to them already 8 people in the past 1 month. Hundreds have been arrested in the Indian side.
Yeah.
People from the Indian forces are dying. No, and they are attacking police stations.
Yeah.
They're confessing they are from Pakistan.
Okay.
So what else do you want? I mean, how many mountain of evidence?
Let's take that back to Colonel Saeed, because Colonel Saeed, everybody here in the studios here has posed a question to you, that if Pakistan is seriously committed, why are we seeing these examples time and time again? And also, the people who have been repatriated have been acknowledged by Pakistan as Pakistani nationals.
Ma'am, Maya, there are a lot of people who go on visit visa to India. They go by road and train and by air. And you have so many of them in India that you can make any one of them a terrorist. And once you repatriate them, we would definitely accept them. There are a lot of people from Pakistan, including fishermen, who are held with you. To produce one odd person on TV or media.
But I don't think the fishermen are being called terrorists, Colonel Saeed. Praveen, you clearly had a strong reaction to that.
No, I'm just laughing.
No, you have got such a good army and you have got such a good obstacle. And what good is that army and obstacle for
a very strange
if they cannot prevent infiltration? And I am surprised that 4 men can hold on for 14, 15 hours a regular army on a border, you know, an army not in a cantonment, the one which is on the border.
We can have a discussion.
It is all the story which has no head and tail.
Okay, Colonel Saeed, I think
I would say that you need to change your stance about Pakistan.
Okay.
No, of course, Pakistan Colonel
six
Saeed is
piece.
famously and internationally
Pakistan
known as
has
a
to
country
Colonel Saeed,
which
Pakistan
produces
has to-
no terrorists ever. I concede your point. It's a fabulous country that has never sent any terrorists anywhere, and your three leading newspapers, which have regularly reported the Gaibana Namaz of terrorists killed on the Indian side of the line of control in Pakistan-administered Kashmir, those are also parts of an Indian false flag operation. Large amounts of scholarly books written by Pakistani scholars about the training, equipping,
Absolutely.
financing and sending of these people are also part of an Indian false flag operation. I concede your point. You are absolutely right. Having said that, I think you're perfectly right. When you start a conversation with denial, then there isn't much point to it. The point in Pakistan, though, is that most people, unlike Colonel Saeed, are not in denial or in fantasy land. Their establishment is very clear about what's going on. In the Musharraf years, it demonstrated the capacity to scale back.
Yeah.
I think these are deliberate provocations that the Pakistan army is engaging in with strategic intent to mount pressure on India.
Okay.
It's doing it successfully because we don't have a coherent policy answer.
So, Sambit, in fact, that's a valid point. We don't have a coherent policy answer. We are seeing this mounting of pressure. We've seen, you know, a stop and go, 2 steps forward, 1 step back kind of dialogue with Pakistan in the last couple of months. Now, what is it that we as a nation want to do in response to this? We can't just announce talks and call them off, announce talks and call them off. That doesn't serve any purpose.
Now, I would like to remind you of 2 statements of Mr. Sartaji just before these NSA talks were called off. One of the statement was to the effect, I mean, not Mr. Sartaji, is exactly the MEA spokesperson, Mr. Khalilullah's statement, that previously meeting the Hurriyat leaders was a matter of common practice. Now, what was a matter of common practice was reduced to a mission impossible by this government, and I rightly say that this was a strong standard the government took, which was very essential in accordance with one of the treaties of the past, that's the Shimla Agreement, that there would be no third stakeholder in the talks between the Indian Union and the Pakistani Republic. So, what's wrong in this? What's wrong in this? This is a stand which should have been taken way back when the talks ever started. This government was firm in putting the foot down. Secondly, I am reminded of one of the statements made by Mr. Sartaj Aziz when he said that here is a Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi in India, who wants that the talk should take according to the according to the ways and means that he wants the talk to progress. Now tell me, if the ways and means were defined and underlined by the previous documents, by the previous laydowns like the Lahore Declaration or the Shimla Agreement, so how can we go astray from these? We are following the lines, we are going by what we had promised. It is the Pakistani dispensation which is running away just in order to escape the flag.
I know you want to
I just want to interject for a second and say that, you know, for 10 years we've been having these discussions which go around in a circle. The fact of the matter is that whatever discussion Mr. Patra's government or anybody else's government has with Mr. Sartaj Aziz doesn't solve the problem of infiltration. What I want to know is what this government, is the same question I used to ask the last government, is going to do to end this problem. The current situation is that we arrest guys like this young man who've come across and in 4 years we send them back home.